Hey ho everyone, and welcome back to this year um uh with the Ubers Winter League this time around, not the Ubers Premier League. I'm very glad to be back with manager interviews once again. So the format is a bit different this time around, only for big teams with 30 players each going against each other twice, so total of 6 weeks. And I am very glad to be joined by none other than FC, the manager of the Golden Gambits. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
Um, I'm also great. Uh, so
Ah,
how is how did the draft go for you? Did you get
uh,
the players you wanted?
this draft was like really difficult because none of us have done a format like this where, you know, one team ended up with 37 players. Like none of us really knew what was going on, especially at the start. So, at first, we were doing like really well. Like we got a bunch of players really early for so much lower than we thought we would.
Yeah, I think you
Like
got
we had Entro
Entro
penciled
for
down for like, yeah,
21.
for 23.5.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
23.5. Yeah, and we had him put on our sheet for like 35 because that's what we thought he was going for. So, and then we got Kebab and Zael for we had them like around 20 something and they were 18.5 and 16.5 respectively. So, at first we were just buying literally everyone we wanted, but then near the end of the auction, we kind of got scared on how to spend our money because we're like we need so many players, right? And then that led to us kind of like deviating from our plans a bit, but still, like most of these people, we at least had their name down. And I did find it really funny how at the very end of the draft, we had so much money that we just went so hard on YBW for RBY 21K, which like he was in our plans as our top RBY, but I didn't think any RBY would go 21K. So I
Yeah.
found that pretty funny. But overall, I was still happy with how the draft went because I feel like we adapted pretty well to the new format because 300K is a lot and it was hard to figure out where to spend the money, but I think we did all right.
Yeah. I believe you and Ice Monster both self-bought.
Yeah. Um it's it was 30K, so it was 60K total out of our 300 budget, which like since there's 24 slots, it's technically less worth to do so than in UPL, but uh we just figured like we have so much money if we both want to play, like we can just get our games done and then we ended up still having enough money to buy everyone we wanted by the end of the auction. So we felt that it was like a good call, especially in hindsight, that we actually did not end up self buying.
Yeah. Uh, I believe you changed your lineup a bit as well. I think you wanted to put Manafi in SS, but put him in best of three instead. Oh,
Yeah, we initially sent our week one lineup with Manaphy in SS, and then we realized like 8 hours later that Manaphy tier locked out of SS, which was fine. We just moved him to SV and then put me back in SS, which my game didn't go so well. But it was not a great first week for us as a whole. But and then yeah, so that was it. And then we just moved intro to modern best of three. And then for this week we kind of switched back to the original plan with me in modern best of three and intro in SV. So we're hoping this one goes a bit better.
yeah. So that is also right away leads into the next question. What do you think of the other teams? I mean, there are less this time around, but what do you think are going to be the troublesome matchups?
Well, we got smoked by the Corriders. Like this was not even close. So their team their team like I think I underrated them going like out of the draft, but like looking at it, all of their slots, like they don't have any major holes. Like they don't have the superstar power, I would say, that some of the other teams have, especially from like the self buys. Like the other team has like Hack and High Lord, but uh, and then it's a little egotistical to say myself, but me and Ice Master as well. So, uh, but their team is just like really fundamentally solid. So I think they'll do pretty well. And like because there's only four teams, obviously, like none of them can be too big of a step below the other, because we all just kind of
Yeah,
got who we wanted and then just went from there. So I don't think the competition is too far off. Like the Mewtwo's and our team both got kind of cooked week one, but like I wouldn't put us any further below these other two teams. Uh, like in a power ranking, I think we'd be like really close. Just because 24 slots, there's a lot of variance that could happen. So I think every team is pretty competitive.
Yeah. So, how's the team activity in your Discord looking so far? Was that maybe an issue in
Uh,
the first week that you didn't put enough time or effort into the builder, expecting that it would be a sweep, more or less?
I think like as a manager, so in UPL and like past winter leagues and World Cups or whatever, the way I did it was just I kind of tried to do as much as physically possible. So I would be building like most current gen slots and like half of the old gen slots as well as my own, which like in a smaller format with like 10 slots like World Cup or whatever, that was like entirely feasible for me because I could just check my builder for old gens and then just make a couple teams in SV and call it a day pretty much because my prep is very minimal in SS. Um, but there are like for week one, just staring at a Discord server with 24 channels of unread messages, trying to figure out what to do, like felt really hard for me. So I feel like I personally could have done more. But as a whole, our team has been like pretty active. Like our SV slots are working well together. Like we have a lot of I guess newer players like VXR, Zowie, Eater, and Hacker, but they're still all pretty active in their prep. And then our old gens kind of are mostly self-sufficient because we have like known players like Hace Big Fat Mantis, Zael, all of them.
Yeah. This also just makes this tour format really great because it allows many new players to get in touch with all the old experienced ones and play alongside them. So being able to pick new players into the draft is really great.
Yeah, especially in SV. Like most of our SV core was like pretty cheap. Like E-turn and Entro were kind of expensive, but then like Jonks I think was 3K, VXR was 3K, Zowie was 3K, and then Hacker and Terra were relatively cheap as well. So it's like a lot of the especially in SV, I think there was a lot of room to like bring in new players and kind of see how things pan out.
Yeah. And then we have a question from CKW for your team. Who are the
Oh
vibe
gosh.
merchants in your team?
Um, I actually don't know who has the most lines. I think it's no surprise we have Keys in our server just to like hang out, and he talks a lot, which is really good. Nora talks a lot. He's very active with like prep and scouts and building teams and all that. Uh, Aerobi talks quite a lot. We just slotted him in SS this week, but even on the bench he was pretty active. And I'm sure most people are familiar with Holy Ghost and what he's up to. So
Oh yeah,
he's pretty active as well.
that reminds me. In we were in the voice channel in Uber's Nights at the start of the draft with Richard, Entro, Raf, and Holy Ghost. And right after Entro got picked, Holy Ghost asked Entro, please tell the managers to buy me." And this also was immediate. That was really funny.
That is funny. Hey, they got together, so
Yeah.
it just we saved so much on intro, so we went pretty high on Holy Ghost for like he has like one BW tour ever, I think, and it was World Cup where he timed out turn 10. So, but we wanted him because we figured he'd be a good team presence and win some games. So he's been a good team presence, and I think he probably won last week if he didn't miss Stone Edge. So hopefully he just gets luckier and the play keeps coming and he'll do well.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything else you would like to add to this interview?
Um, Not really. I think that's about it if we have no more questions from other people. Like this tournament was just kind of I didn't know about the format at first. Like I was pretty vocal about preferring World Cup just cuz I like being on Team Canada. But it's been interesting so far and I do think we will do a lot better than week 1 showed. As we, adjust to the format and see how things go. But so far, I think it's not been a bad experiment. Like, obviously, I don't know if we'll keep doing this format forever because I don't know how sustainable it is to have 35 people on a team, but for every single tournament in the winter every year. But we'll see. So yeah, that's about
All
it.
right. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And with that, bye bye.